The floor wasn't just sand. It was a thick layer of grit designed for one specific purpose: to act as a sponge for the blood so the gladiators wouldn't slip on the gore of the men who died before them. Welcome to the single deadliest tourist attraction in human history. If you stood here in the year 80 AD, the first thing that would hit you isn't the architecture, it's the noise. 50,000 people screaming so loud that the vibrations could be felt in your chest. Then the smell would hit you. A sickening mix of sweat, expensive incense, wild animal dung and rotting meat baking in the Mediterranean sun. This wasn't just a stadium, it was a machine, a place where the raw materials were men and animals, and the final product was death. You're watching Be Explained, and this is the Colosseum, Rome's arena of death. To understand the Colosseum, you have to stop thinking of it as a monument. You need to think of it as a political weapon. Before this arena existed, the Emperor Nero had built a massive, selfish golden palace for himself in the centre of Rome. After Nero died, the new emperor Vespasian wanted to erase his memory. So he drained Nero's private lake and built a massive arena for the public right on top of it. It was a message. Nero took this land for himself. I'm giving it back to you. But how did they pay for it? That is the dark secret of its construction. The Colosseum was funded by the sack of Jerusalem in 70 AD. The Romans looted the great temple, stealing its gold and silver. And it wasn't built by paired workers. It was built by tens of thousands of Jewish slaves brought back from the war. The greatest symbol of Rome was built on the ashes of a destroyed civilization. When it opened, it was an engineering miracle. The Romans invented a retractable roof called the velarium. It was a massive canvas awning that covered the crowd to shade them from the hot sun. It was so heavy and complex that they had to hire actual sailors from the Roman navy just to operate the ropes and pulleys. But the real magic happened underground. Beneath the arena floor was a labyrinth called the hypogym. It was a complex network of tunnels, cages, and holding cells. It smelled of wild animals and fear. Using an intricate system of winches and counterweights, slaves could hoist lions, bears, and even elephants from the basement up to the arena floor in seconds. To the crowd, it looked like magic. One moment the arena was empty. The next, a tiger appeared out of thin air to maul a prisoner. A day at the Colosseum wasn't just a fight, it was a full-day festival with a strict schedule of violence. The morning was for the Vlasio, the beast hunts. The Romans were obsessed with exotic nature. They brought in giraffes, rhinos, and ostriches from Africa and Asia just to slaughter them. It was a display of Rome's power, showing that they could conquer not just foreign people, but foreign nature itself. Then came the lunch break. This was the darkest part of the day. While the rich citizens ate their snacks, the arena hosted public executions. But the Romans didn't just hang people, they turned executions into theatre. They would reenact Greek myths. If the myth involved a character losing their hand, they would force a prisoner to play the role and actually cut off their hand. If the myth involved Icarus falling from the sky, they would drop a prisoner from a high platform. It was brutal, creative, and horrifying. Finally, in the afternoon came the main event, the gladiators. Hollywood tells us these men were just mindless slaves sent to die. But the truth is more complicated. Gladiators were the sports superstars of their day. They were called the barley men, named after their high-carb diet designed to bulk them up. They had fan clubs, they endorsed products, Wealthy women would pay huge sums of money for a vial of a gladiator's sweat to wear as perfume. And contrary to popular belief, they didn't die in every match. Training a gladiator was expensive. It was like training a racehorse. If you killed them all the time, the owners would go bankrupt. Referees actually oversaw the fights. If a gladiator was too injured to continue, the fight was stopped. Doctors, some of the best in the ancient world, were on standby to stitch them up. But make no mistake, it was still a blood sport. The fights were designed like a game of rock, paper, scissors. You had the retiarius, who fought with a net and a trident, wearing almost no armour. He had to use speed to defeat the sector, a tank of a man with a heavy helmet and shield. If a gladiator fell, his fate was in the hands of the crowd. We all know the thumbs down gesture. If 50,000 people screamed for death, the winner would deliver the final blow, a blade to the neck. The dead body was then dragged out through a specific archway called the Gate of Death, while the winner walked out the Gate of Life. But the most insane spectacle happened in the early years. Before the underground tunnels were built, the Romans could seal the arena and flood it with millions of gallons of water. They brought in real ships and staged full-scale naval battles called naumachia. Men drowned, ships sank, and the water turned red, all inside a building in the middle of the city. It is an engineering feat that would be difficult to replicate even today. So, why did it stop? It wasn't just because Rome suddenly developed a conscience. It was because the empire ran out of money. As the Roman economy collapsed, they could no longer afford to import lions from Africa or pay for the upkeep of the massive structure. The bread and circuses became too expensive. In the Middle Ages, the Colosseum was abandoned. It was used as a fortress, a cemetery, and even a housing complex. People pulled the marble and iron off the walls to build their own palaces and churches. The great arena was cannibalized by the city it once entertained. Today, it stands as a ruin, a beautiful hollow shell in the center of modern Rome. But if you stand there and close your eyes, you can almost hear the echo of the 50,000 people cheering for blood, completely unaware that their empire was slowly dying around them. It reminds us that even the greatest civilizations can be distracted by spectacle while the real world crumbles.
This is Be Explained. If you want history without myths or noise, subscribe, because the past still shapes the present, and here it is explained.